Well, a boy's best friend is his mother.
Kill her, Mommy. Kill her.
We'll tear your soul apart.
Live or die. Make your choice.
What are you waiting for, huh? What are you waiting for?
I'm not even gonna swat that fly. I hope they are watching. They'll see. They'll see and they'll know. And they'll say, why, she wouldn't even harm a fly.
They're here.
I met this 6-year-old child with this blank, pale, emotionless face. The blackest eyes. The devil's eyes. I spent 8 years trying to reach him, and then another 7 trying to keep him locked up because I realized that what was living behind that boy's eyes was purely and simply evil.
This thing is so official.
Maybe they're overcompensating. It's kind of hard to call everybody up out of the blue after 2 years.
I'm so glad you're here. We've got a lot to talk about. So much to celebrate tonight. Each and every one of us is on a journey, and we feel that it's important to be on that journey with the people you love. Everybody, this is my friend Pruitt.
Bars on the windows and new.
Security. Safer.
You've been acting so suspicious of our hospitality.
Well,
Jesus.
has he been like this a lot? So agitated? How has he been handling things? He can be self-destructive.
I think he's doing the best he can.
Something doesn't feel safe here.
We don't see you for 2 years, and then all of a sudden, we get invited to this lavish dinner. Don't tell me that this is normal.
What do you think is happening, Will?
This beautiful moment is upon us. Tonight is the night our faith is made real.
Why is this happening?
There's nothing to be afraid of.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Back to the Blockbuster with your host, KS and Jackson. Another entry in our Tales of Horror series. It's my pick this week. Went with 2015's The Invitation, which I kind of didn't really think about what I was going to pick next after you did The Vanishing. But I thought it was interesting that you were kind of stuck on that movie being more psychological than a straightforward horror film, and this one is not really a straightforward horror film either, more psychological than anything else.
I was just thinking that myself.
So same page, I guess, with the choices on this one, but yeah, it came out in 2015. Still stars Logan Marshall-Green, directed by Karyn Kusama, who you guys may know from, she directed Girl Fight, which was Michelle Rodriguez's first movie that came out, just had its 25th anniversary, I think 2 weeks ago. She also directed Jennifer's Body, a movie that did not do well in theaters, but is a cult favorite now. She directed the Eon Flux movie with Charlize Theron, not so good. That was a blemish on her filmography for a little bit, but now she does that show Yellow Jackets. She's a producer and director on that, so she's got a really diverse kind of career as a director. I I couldn't remember if you had seen this already.
I had. It's surprising to me now. This movie's already 10 years old this year. Because I remember when this movie was like new and hot on Netflix. I'm pretty sure I at least thought it was a Netflix original. Maybe it's not. That was the impression I had about this movie for years. Maybe that's just kind of where I had seen it. And I associate this movie with Netflix in any case. But no, I had seen it. I think this would have been my third watch. But what I love about it is it had been quite some time, like many years since I had seen it. I thought I remembered more about it than I did. So it was one of those exciting watches for me where I knew I had seen it. I think back on it fondly, yet it was still able to offer some surprises in the narrative, which is great. It wasn't like recapping a movie I was very familiar with. It had been definitely, I mean, I'm not sure how many, maybe I'm guessing probably somewhere like 5 or 6 years. So it felt very fresh, and I'm happy to say it holds up really well. I found anyway. It was a great watch. Just got it in last night as of recording, so it's still fresh on the mind, which is always a good thing. Yeah, great.
I watched it this morning. I hadn't watched it in a long time. How it ended up coming about to add to this was someone I was scrolling through Instagram, like all the movie kind of hashtags that I have to use for like G-Reels, and someone posted about it, and it was their first time watching it, and I was like, okay. Oh yeah, that might be a good one to add. I'm remembering it. I thought it was more of a horror film than I remembered, but I guess in some ways, I mean, it does have like some horror elements, particularly the way it kind of wraps up.
The final 15 minutes are like definitely horrifying, and it takes a super great twist. I really like the direction this movie goes in, and I know it's held up well critically, but a lot of if you read some of the reviews, a lot of people have complaints about this movie about it being a slow burn. I think it's a really effective slow burn, and it definitely pivots in that finale in a really great deserved way, I found.
Yeah, so I went on IMDb thinking I was going to see like universal praise from the user comments, because like it has a 90% on Rotten Tomatoes. Like critics really liked it a lot. Yeah, when it premiered at South by Southwest when it came out, but it was I was expecting people to really. First, I was shocked by the 6.6 out of 10 on IMDb. I was like, which is not horrible, but I was expecting at least like a 7 or more.
A lot of great movies are in that range, though, right?
Yeah. And then like you, I'm reading the comments, and the complaints were that the buildup was slow and not all that interesting. And I had like the opposite reaction to it when I watched it again for this. It feels like a prolonged like anxiety attack. That's what it reminded me of. Where I read a critical review of it that who liked it, and they were saying that like the movie is like a play on people who are too afraid to speak their minds and are worried about being polite.
Yes.
And and that kind of is like, and even Logan Marshall-Green has like a outburst towards the end, right before they do the whole it's during the whole part with Choi when he says he gets a call from Choi, and like he said he was here already, and like and now why is he not here? And he makes a comment about like, you guys are all being too fucking polite to address what's going on like in the room. And like it does kind of feel like that there is this kind of like weirdness and tension that's going on, and he is the only one that seems to be aware of it. And I think that's the good thing about the movie. It kind of dabbles in the whole like, is he just being paranoid, and or is there something really going on? Because for those that don't know, like the movie's about a man that accepts an invitation to a dinner party hosted by his ex-wife, and there's a lot of like things in their past that a lot of like troubling things in their past, tragic things in their past. And it's been about 2 years since a lot of him and his ex-wife have seen each other. He now has I believe new girlfriend, right? Not wife or anything, new girlfriend. And other friends are invited to this kind of dinner party that they all haven't seen each other in a couple years. And the tragic event was like the accidental death of their son. And this is all taking place at the house they used to share. So there's all these like, of course, like memories in the house, and all these like kind of like pent up, this pent up grief and tension that's going on. So it could be that's bothering him. So the movie does a good job of like kind of making you think like, oh, maybe this is all in his head, or perhaps something is amiss in the house.
It's I love that Logan Marshall-Green's character like naturally has his guard up anyway, so it does a great job. There's so much awesome misdirection in this movie where you can totally understand and sympathize as an audience member like why Will would be agitated or bothered about being back in this house where he shares these old memories with his ex-wife and their child that died. So obviously he's perturbed, and that makes sense. And you're just asking yourself, is he making a bigger deal out of these things, out of these weird goings on than the normal person would? Like all the other friends at this dinner party don't seem to really be making as big a deal. Or is he the one normal person there that's like, what is going on? This is weird. This needs to be addressed. Why is nobody taking this seriously? The movie does such a great job at multiple points, just because of things that happen, making it seem like he has been blowing things out of proportion until that, I guess I'll call it the fourth act, comes around and just turns everything on its head. Yeah. It's like the movie's gaslighting Will the whole time. It's just, and it does such a good job.
And then try to gaslight us too. Cause like, my like train of thought is when I'm watching it, and I think it does a good job of this. There is something very off-putting about Eden's ex-wife, her new guy, David. Like it's something so eerily like kind of calm and like this whole kind of like kumbaya, we're all family here, and like we all wanted you guys here to kind of like, I guess kind of take care of some old wounds basically, and like keep put some of this stuff in the past and like whatever, right? One of my buddies who I know have seen it, and actually I know a lot of people I know haven't seen it at all. They haven't even heard of it. But his thing was like when he couldn't get past, and what it's hard for him to accept when he watches it is that him as the ex, even if he had a new girlfriend, wouldn't even accept an invitation like that to go like hang out with his ex-wife and her new dude. And when there's all this kind of like this stuff that's between him and his ex-wife, that's personal between them, like the loss of their son is very personal between them as a couple, having nothing to do with her new guy David. And honestly, even though I'm pretty sure he shared this with Kira, his new girlfriend, has nothing to do with her either. She's kind of just along for the ride. Like I'm here to support you because I know this is going to be rough and it's not going to be easy. But like he had a hard time being like, there's no way I would even go. And then I know what was hard for him too was Eden, Tammy Blanchard, who plays Eden, plays her kind of so weird that
it's a little off-putting.
That it's clear something's up. So like he could never let his guard down as a viewer and be like, all right, yeah, something's not right. But it was weird because usually I'm that person, but I was able to like kind of like let my guard down because the supporting characters were kind of helping to do that, because even they would explain away like this is the reason why you're so uneasy, because it's been 2 years, it's been a while since you've been in this house, and like there's all these memories in this house. And the movie does do a good job of like showing flashbacks of them together and happier times, and it also hints of like uglier times. Like it looks like she may have tried to like even kill herself at one point. Like there's a flashback to that, and so I think that kind of helps with the whole like okay, clearly something's off with them, but it does a good job of like kind of bringing you back, like, oh, maybe it's just something is wrong with Will because he can't quite accept being there. Like maybe he wasn't ready to do this or as ready as he thought he would be and all that stuff. So I accepted it. And usually I'm not the one that does accept stuff in movies like this, because like usually I'm the one that's like, oh, that wouldn't be me.
I'm with you. I buy into it too. Like I'm with your friend that says I wouldn't have accepted that invitation in the first place. Like for sure. My girlfriend though, who watched it with me last night, was on that train. Like, fucking leave. This is weird. At the first sign of anything being weird, I'd be leaving. And I'm like, yeah, I get it. But on the other hand, like you would probably look like the crazy person at several times during this movie for leaving just because, you're at a dinner party, you're with old friends. And just because there's a couple new people there and the hosts are, acting a little unorthodox. In a real social situation, would people really get up and leave? Like it's easy to say while watching a movie, but I found myself thinking, I think this is a more uncomfortable position to be in than it's really made out to seem. Like it is tough to exclude yourself. Like that one scene where stand by for the character's name there, she did a great job when it's Claire Maria Delfino, when she, after the video that John Carroll Lynch's character shows when she gets up to excuse herself and says like, I'm sorry, I'm super uncomfortable, I want to leave. That is one of like the, I think, best performed scenes there.
Yeah,
and
it's so honest. Like it's like,
and just that is how that would look, and it would feel awkward and you'd be singled out. And it takes a lot of courage to stand up and leave when you're uncomfortable. I'm like, that is something you don't really see a lot. And that's probably what all the audience members were thinking they would do if placed in that position.
Yeah.
It's a great scene. And it comes off the heels of an even better scene, probably the highlight of the movie for me, John Carroll Lynch's monologue about his wife.
Yeah.
And that slow zoom into him as he's giving that monologue, you start up with a whole view of like his background and on the fireplace. And then by the end, the camera's just lingering on his face.
Yeah.
I forgot actually how well delivered that scene was in the movie. And I was just hooked.
John Carroll Lynch has I feel a market on playing creepy.
Yes,
he's done that a lot.
Zodiac,
and,
right?
Zodiac being the main one, right?
Yeah.
And so he was one of those people where I was like, I don't know about him. But then it was weird because like the monologue he gave about, essentially he gives a monologue about how for those who haven't seen it and you don't care about being spoiled, like him and his wife, they had been drinking one night and they got into a fight, and the fight escalated so much that he ended up killing her, hitting her, and and killing her. And like it's interesting because like at first you're like, whoa, that's like so much information for like this crowd at this dinner party. But then he has a way of playing it where like he is admitting his fault in what he did and accepting full responsibility, and like I went to prison for it, I did this many years, and now he has this clarity about like the situation, and somehow he manages to make that monologue not so creepy. It's almost like, oh, he understood what he did was wrong, and it goes from being like a moment of like, oh, that's TMI, to being like, oh, like I kind of get at least the emotion he's selling, and like it's not so much like, oh, we gotta, because like at the start of that I would have been like, we gotta go. This is like, I don't need to hear how he like essentially like accidentally murdered his wife. To
a room full of people he doesn't know. That's the weird part. Like that's great for a meeting or something, like a grief counseling meeting. But you're at a lighthearted dinner party with people you don't know. Like that is fucking weird to share.
Yeah, because like he's friends with David, and so is Sadie, who is another weird one in the group too, right?
She's
so they don't. They're the two that don't know everyone else, and it is something to be said. I don't know if you've ever been in a situation like this where, and of course not this extreme, but like I've definitely been in places where like I don't feel comfortable here. I'm not really vibing with the people, and my instinct is to leave, but there's always like one person that is like explaining why we should tough it out and stay, or like or be really awkward if we left at this particular moment. So I could understand that whole feeling of like unease, like this is not somewhere I want to be, but then also trying to find the right opportunity to be like, all right, let's exit stage left, that kind of thing. And I think the movie does a good job of like kind of playing on that emotion. Like it's like, oh, okay, like I don't want to come off as rude, but this isn't really for me. And I agree with you about the Claire part where she honestly it's just like, okay, like I filled my quota with this, like I came here because I haven't seen you guys in a while, and Eden, it's been a bit, I'll see you when I see you, but she is the most honest, like this, I can't do this, I gotta go. And but Will is kind of like has this battle of like, all right, am I feeling a genuine feeling of like unease or tension or something's off, or is it just me psychologically not being ready to confront being in this space with these particular people, and most definitely his ex-wife, and then also, I mean, I guess it helps in this situation that he has a new girlfriend with him, because like Eden has a new guy, so that wasn't maybe a source of tension maybe at all, but it is a bit of a tension when David seems to overstep. Like he mentions their son at one point, and he cuts him off at the knees, like, no, like maybe like don't talk about him, like. So I don't know, I think it's an interesting movie in the sense of like we talked about it with the Vanishing, like too, where it's like if that little thing and you're that inkling, that feeling, you're supposed to listen to it. I mean, I know it's like usually you might come off paranoid, but if it's nagging you, like you have to listen to it. And I think this movie is a big example of that gut feeling that you are feeling deep inside, like listen to it. And because who cares if people think you're paranoid? At the end of it, there's a reason you're feeling it.
Exactly. At worst case, you look a little silly. At best case, you're better off and maybe safer if you listen to your gut. So it's
you don't die.
Exactly. No risk, high reward.
Something
I thought was interesting in the last time I had seen this to this time is that we've now both seen Coherence. I've seen it a couple times. Now. This gave me vibes of that movie so much, which is it's great. Like when watching Coherence, it never made me think of The Invitation. But while watching The Invitation, I was like, oh, this is at least the first part. Obviously, the movies are very distinctly different and they go in their different directions, but they do center around a group of friends at a dinner party and mostly played by not, I don't know about unknown actors. Maybe we'll call lesser known. And so it gives off that sort of appeal, like, oh, I don't know any of these people. But yeah, I love both. But on that note too, I love that this is Logan Marshall-Green's sort of vehicle. I think the decision to cast like lesser known actors really enabled him to stand out. Cause I mean, it's his movie, his character is definitely the lead. And there's some good supporting roles, but I'd say they're really scattered out. Not a lot of screen time dedicated to anybody else. And I think that really helped balance his role in the movie too, that if he was contrasted with maybe some bigger A-listers, I don't know that it would be as impactful, but love him in this role. Love that guy. I have a soft spot for him in Hollywood.
He kind of like is like a under the radar. He's in a lot.
Yeah,
of stuff.
He is.
Like,
yeah.
I mean, oddly enough, the first thing I discovered him in, I don't know if he had done anything before this, but he was on the second season of the OC. He played Ryan's brother. Right, he had a huge arc during the second season that was pretty like a big arc on that show. And then after that, I seen him pop up in other stuff, and like Prometheus being like the main thing I remember him from, and then remembered him from this. And he is like I guess not A-list, but like enough to where you're like I recognize that guy from something. Like
yes.
He has that face. However, there was a review of this movie that gave him a positive review, but then was joking and said like, "Oh, like Tom Hardy, Logan Marshall-Green gives a really great performance here." And I didn't really see that until like they said it like in that review. But I was like, yeah, I guess he does have Tom Hardy vibes a little bit. That's
not the only person I've heard compare him to Tom Hardy or Tom Hardy we have at home sort of thing. Which I'm like, I think I think they look similar, yes, but I think Logan Marshall-Green definitely stands out as his own person and performer more so. I think he's more deserving than just like Tom Hardy's a lookalike actor. Like, is he as big and famous? No, but definitely a very talented guy. And in research of this too, I was unaware of his silver screen presence, or I guess like his TV career before like Prometheus and some of the bigger roles that he got, especially like the OC. I did not know that about him, but love when he pops up in things because he's great.
I mean, like Upgrade's another one that a pretty,
Upgrade is amazing.
Cult favorite. You're really good at that. And like and I forgot that he's in Devil because I haven't seen that in a while. That's the like elevator movie that Shyamalan produced.
I haven't seen that since it came out.
But he like I really like about him in this is that he plays things relatively so calm until he doesn't have to anymore. Like to what like he's just like pretty much almost like a silent observer for most of the movie, where he's just like silently like thinking in like something here just isn't adding up, and has to just pay attention to how weird everyone else is being, and not everyone else. It's mainly just Eden, David, like the other friends. The excuse for the other friends. I mean, I wonder if like Will is so intuitive to what's going on because of his past with her and his past in that house and that whole situation. Like if that's why he's just so like keenly aware of like what's happening, and the rest of them don't have a real connection to it other than the fact that they were friends and they know what they went through. But like I kind of was thinking like I wonder why the friends don't really see how like off-putting things are, but he does. I thought that was pretty interesting to like kind of like get into, because they don't really catch on to anything until it's way too late. Until one of them keels over from drinking the
Yes.
The Kool-Aid, basically.
Yeah, great segue into what inevitably happens. I remember watching this for the first time and just not really seeing the cult angle that this movie
I was going to ask you
taking.
I was going to ask you if, like, when you first saw it, if you had an idea of what was happening, or you kind of were like, I don't.
Not at all. I remember it coming out of left field in a good way. I thought it was like crafted really well, and I think so. Earlier when you're talking about like is the whole Will and Eden and their son thing really necessary for this movie to happen? I guess I would lean towards yes, because it is a great reason that explains why she and her new husband did join that cult, or that I guess that grief group or whatever, where they eventually traveled down to Mexico. Like, it is a great catalyst for them being indoctrinated into this cult and then bringing it back as like to recruit people, if you will. And I remember really enjoying that angle. I remember at the time this came out, that was kind of like trendy. So it just really hit the spot. And I think even 10 years later, it still really holds up as a great, I think it's introduced very naturally into the story and sort of eases the tension. Like, oh, this is why these two and their two other guests that are unknown are so like free love and open spirited and just a little bit off putting. It's like, okay, this kind of like lets people drop their guard. It's strange what happens after, but it's almost like, okay, this is why there's a reason behind this, this tension in the air, is because, okay, they have a cause now that they're trying to promote. Again, then the movie really takes a different turn when they play that video. Like the recruitment video, I guess.
Recruitment video, and they kind of joke about it being like a recruitment video, and it is what it is. And when it's over, like, players kind of like, I'm not. This isn't for me. And then they all like kind of feel that, and Will kind of feels that, and he didn't even know that, like, this is how Eden is kind of dealing with her grief. I guess what I liked about the movie too, it speaks a lot to you about how people deal with grief when someone passes, especially when they pass like accidentally or tragically like that, and like the kind of different avenues they take to deal with it. And, I'm glad in the dialogue it was addressed that, like, he kept telling her, like, you're pretending like he didn't exist, like you almost really pretend like he like that, like this didn't happen, and like kind of like tuck it away. And her thing was like, you have your way of dealing with it, which I haven't judged. And I'm glad that even though she's a little off, I'm glad they gave her that dialogue too.
Yeah, great line.
That is true, because like she's like, I haven't judged you for how you handled it. And I guess it shows how easy you can get pulled into something when you don't know what to do with.
When you're vulnerable.
When you're vulnerable and don't do a loss like that. So much so that you would be an asshole and pull your friends into something like this. Because like she pulls in her, like, they don't know what they're getting into. And she definitely knows, like, well, what's interesting? She knows what the end game is, but she seems, at least performance-wise, so shocked when things go awry. Like when it's not the whole like drinking of the Kool-Aid to like make everyone, I guess, die together. But when it turns into like, the shooting and all that stuff, like she sees the
violence and the mayhem. And she was not on board with that. No,
for that, so I didn't know if that was like an acting choice or if that was just like how that was written, because she really seemed like, okay, I didn't know it was going to go here. It seemed like she didn't know, at least from like, that's my interpretation of it. At least like she kind of thought it was going to be like this kind of kumbaya like group, almost like mass suicide thing.
My interpretation as well is that she almost, in her performance, it comes across that she was on board because she maybe is justifying this as like, if they all drink of their own free will, it's almost kind of like a peaceful group suicide thing. But as far as when Will sort of usurps that plan and exposes it, and then the group starts getting murdered, that was definitely not, she was not on board with that.
Yeah, I agree. And this is also one of those movies that gives me secondhand like embarrassment, because there's one person at the dinner party that was supposed to be there, Choi, and I guess Choi has a rep for like either being late or like not all this stuff. And like, there's no cell service, of course, in this area.
In the Hollywood Hills.
In the Hollywood Hills, which is kind of a little true, depending on where you're at in the Hollywood Hills. But also this house that they used to live in together. Yeah, that we should let you know that they want all the doors locked. And then you find out later when they're trying to get out that one point where he's like thinking there is a door that was a door. He's like, there used to be a door here, and now there's like, it's all kind of like cordoned off, but like without a way to get out. So they're basically they're trying to like make sure that these people can't get out once they get started. Um,
So there was a contingency plan.
There was a little bit, right?
Yeah.
But but like this thing with Choi is like, there's a moment of self-service, and Will hears a voicemail that Choi left saying that like basically, oh, I'm like right outside, I'm about to walk in, blah blah blah, right? And then that is when Will like goes like off, like he's finally had enough of like kind of like, I've been reading the room and the room is weird, and like no one else seems to think that the room is weird, so I'm gonna like flat out say it. And when that doorbell rings and Choi walks in and he's like, oh, I had a work call, like my heart hurt for Will so bad, because it was like everyone's looking at him like, and even David, even though David's a weirdo, David gives him almost this like tisk 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 kind of like shaking of the head. And then Logan Marshall-Green played it so well that he's embarrassed himself and he gets so emotional, and I think he starts to believe himself that like, okay, maybe I am like psychologically like not ready to be here, and then like this is why I'm kind of creating these kind of scenarios, because it's just like being here is too much. And like he starts crying and like he's apologetic. So I felt so bad, but also like so embarrassed for it, because it's like, there's something worse when like the whole room is looking at you like what did you do? and that's what that scene felt like for me. But he's
nightmare
so good
fuel for sure. He's great at it,
like really good at it. Like all the kind of, he hits all the right notes when necessary, like throughout the whole movie, because he really is like the kind of voice and eyes of the audience pretty much, like and making you as a viewer like no, trust your instinct, something's wrong. And then when things like don't quite go his way, like, oh, maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm judging it wrong, maybe like they're not so weird, like these kind of like dinner party things, especially like in the area I live in, like people go to these things kind of time where it's close friends and you play games and stuff like that. Like, not saying the vibes are like that weird where like it's something like, but like you certainly like joke around, talk about things that you are confident of doing that because like the group you're with is your close, tight knit group of friends. So like that part of it rang very true. So like, it does a good job of like making you question like, his headspace, and maybe he's overreacting. And that's why I feel like it feels like a prolonged anxiety attack, because it's like, okay, like what, like something's got to give at some point. And when you think it has, like they do a good job of like proving you wrong. You're like, he's like, oh no, I got them. And like, the whole thing about the pills in her drawer, like I like how he has a reason to like be concerned, but they rightfully are like, are you rifling through her things? Like, why are you? Like, why are you going through their stuff?
Doesn't really prove anything.
Like,
yeah,
you don't have that right. You don't have that right anymore. And they do a good job of like making you kind of feel like you're crazy too. Like,
I love that despite his multiple outbursts and outward suspicion and distrust of what's going on, that if this was any different circumstances in a normal group of people, no doubt at some point Will would have been asked to leave, especially after like the but because we like knowing where the story is going and why he's not asked to leave and why he's like welcomed with open arms and like accepted, it's I think it makes so much sense, because obviously like the goal here is to have everybody die, and I guess it's a good, nothing really makes sense decision wise and character wise, especially from like Eden and is it David's perspective, until everything goes down. And then once the poison wine is discovered to be a thing, it brings so much rashfulness, I guess, to it gives an answer to all these weird behavior from before the night. It's like, okay, this is why all the we love you, we love each other, or like we're so happy to see you guys and celebrate tonight. It gives such a context to why these hosts are so acting the way they are, because they think this is their last night and they're taking all their friends with them, and it's finally like okay, this is
that's why they're being so weird.
Yeah.
Wait, it's like one of those things too. Like I was like wondering, like when you were watching it and watching the decision making, were you like, okay, this feels like logical, like even on both sides, this feels like logical how most people will react, or were you like, or is this because the plot wants them to react that way? Because in Will's case, like I think I would have like wanted to leave long before he yells at his girlfriend, like, we gotta go right now.
Yeah, exactly. Definitely long before.
And then it's true. It's true how what you're saying too, where they're like, no, we want you to stay. Same thing with Claire when she's like, I don't want to go. I need to go. I don't want to be here anymore. They go out of their way to like get her to stay. And you're right. Once you know what the end game is, you understand why they want her to stay. But I was like wondering how because sometimes movies like this are like, oh, the plot wants them to stay, and like it would be logical for anyone to like want to like remain in such an awkward situation like that.
Yeah, no, I think it comes down to Will, and I think there's this almost like a morbid curiosity that he's been invited back to this place despite the circumstances. Like, yeah, is he uncomfortable? Sure, but he comes across that he's trying to prove to himself that he's fine, that he can be back here and be normal and see how Eden's moved on. And once things start kind of turning a little bit and things are weird and bordering on dangerous, I feel like he becomes assumes more of a protector role for his friends who are clearly naive as to what's going on. And he sees himself as almost this arbiter, that the only person that's going to stand up, and like, he's the only one that protests any dissent to Claire leaving. He challenges David about, let her go. Let her do what she wants to do.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
And when he thinks that the group's in danger, because after the voicemail he gets from Choi, he's really the only one that's kind of leading this brigade against the hosts. And I think that kind of helps rationalize why he's not just, okay, things are awkward, I'm leaving right away. Like, he's kind of the only person that seems wise to what's going on. And again, a great misdirection. Once Choi shows up, you think, okay, really, he has just been paranoid. It's all in his head. Until I'm glad that at that point, it's almost like, okay, the whole movie's basically been this slow burn setup. And I think the pacing after that is done really well, because just after that, the group recoups. It's time for a toast, and then eagle-eyed viewers will know all the wine that's been passed around that night. It's because it's a focal point, I guess, of the movie, how this expensive wine that Dave's busting out, which again, in hindsight, you know, can't take it with you. It's
Will mentions it, like, the only reason you guys are being so nice right now is because like David put out like some expensive wine.
Exactly. But this wine now that they're toasting with come out of a decanter, which is like, there's a red flag. This is not from, an unopened bottle. Who knows what's been in that? And then I like that we actually get to see when they're doing their toast before everyone puts it to their lips. There's a really quick shot of who is it? Gina takes a sip sort of preemptively before the toast, and then just before everyone's about to go, Will smashes them all out of their hands, and then we know what happens to Gina afterwards. But it's great that we actually get to see her take that sip a little bit too soon, which is a shame. Her character was great.
I actually liked, of the friends, I actually liked her the most. I could see myself being friends with her. I mean, not that the other people were bad, but like, it was just like
she has the kind of the most.
She felt the most authentic. She felt the most authentic of the friends. Mm-hmm. And I do like the misdirection, because like, after he smacks all the like glasses out of everyone's hands, and then Sadie like freaks out. She's like, "You ruined everything," and like jumps on him and attacks him, and like he throws her down, and like she hits her head on like the side table. Also, I'm glad, like, even in that moment, the movie still doesn't give you an indication of, like, this is getting weird yet. They still are like, he overreacted and now this girl's hurt. Like, they still like kind of have the focus on him. And I love that they have that one line, like basically like, "Oh, she isn't conscious." And then like, and you think they're talking about Sadie, and then they're like, no, it's like
Gina.
Have the camera turn to her, and like she's foaming for the mouth, and then now you're like, oh, he was fucking right.
That's what we needed to see. The gaslight's over. Yeah,
like if we survive that, you know how many "I told you so's" you would have been hearing from me after this was over.
So many, and they all would have been deserved.
Next time, listen to me.
On the character of Sadie, when she finally loses her shit, man, she is terrifying. When she's like a bat out of hell. Feral is a great way to put it. And she was off-putting from the get-go, and just very probably the strangest one in the group, if you ask me, even beyond Pruitt. She just that shot where Will is kind of walking through and peeps her in the bathroom, like, making faces. That's one thing I don't know that I have a conclusive reason why. Is she just plain strange? Because it doesn't seem like she knows, or at least she thinks this is her last night on Earth. Like she's planning on participating in this like ritualistic suicide. And that kind of explains why she approaches Will outside by the pool and asks him to like have sex and offers all these things to him, because she's like, well, this is our last night. You may as well do what you want. But that whole, like, when she's alone and doesn't think she's being watched and she's making these like super strange faces in the mirror, like that is, I just don't know that I know, is she just unhinged? Anyway, it's a great sort of insight into her character and her like mental state. Like, she's obviously very strange, but when she makes eye contact with Will, that's one of those like moments that you mentioned earlier that give me like secondhand embarrassment. Like, oh, didn't expect to get caught watching you.
That's the one thing too. Like, not saying necessarily that would be a moment there he would like, we got to get out of here, but her advancing on him the way that she does, where she basically says like she wants to have sex with him, and like that doesn't even make him like I don't know if I would address that to the whole group, but it would be one of those things where it's like, shit just got weird, and your new friend just like made a pass to me or something. I don't know, like. He kind of like, not that he brushes it off, but I think it just more like adds up to how strange art. It
pays back to that theme that you mentioned earlier about like social cues and being polite. Like, how do he's after that scene, they go back to the dinner table and like you're kind of trapped by social constraints again, right? Like, how do you bring up that weird behavior that nobody else observed at a dinner table without like outing her directly in front of everybody? It's like he's kind of back and trapped by these social expectations, which are pretty constant throughout. Which to his credit, Will's the only one that really breaks them and addresses them, but that's one that's a little tougher to do, I guess.
It was interesting too, because once he does break it, and it's when during the whole Choi thing, he breaks it, and he basically says like what everyone that's been watching the movie has been thinking, like, these close-knit friends are here, and I know, David, this is your place now with Eden, but like, who are these two fucking strangers that like we don't know them? And he even points that out, like, I don't even know, like, why do you guys want to be here? like this is like this is supposed to be like a dinner party between like reuniting old friends. Now they do a good job of explaining that away, because David's like, well, these are my friends and I want them here, and he has every right to want his friends there. So I guess that's another way to kind of explain that paranoia way too. Like, David has every right to, have someone there, because he would have essentially been outnumbered, as like the odd man out. If you're looking at it from a realistic, like, he doesn't know anyone, and you throw out the whole, like, it's a cult and like they're up to no good angle, like he would be the odd man out without knowing anyone. So it does seem like, I just want to invite people here. So like, I felt comfortable with a couple people that I knew, because everyone else has history with each other, and like the only person I have any kind of history with is Eden. And like so they do a good job when you're like, I don't get that doesn't jive, and then they got throw in a good enough explanation to make you all right. Well, I guess that works.
More gaslighting, but it's
I know it is.
That everything that Will brings up does seem to have like an almost logical sort of like counterpoint, and enough that you're like, okay, I guess that makes sense, but it's not bulletproof.
It really no, definitely not. And like, I mean, it does definitely take, and I guess that's what I gathered from reading the comments is like on IMDb, it was two things, and I guess I can ask you. One, I don't think you really care about a slow burn if the payoff is worth it. So I guess first 100%. I'll ask you like the criticism of it being too slow and uninteresting before, the reveal. Like, do you agree with that, or are you wondering why people didn't really get with that didn't really like it?
Yeah, you're right. I enjoy slow burns, especially if the payoff is there. I don't need a movie to, be an action and extravaganza throughout. Like, I look at David Fincher's The Killer on Netflix from like a couple of years ago. Like, that's puts the espionage action movie on its head by being like a slow burn, methodical movie. Like, that movie got lots of criticism for the same thing. I think, people that don't like slow burn movies are going to say this is bad, that's boring, that nothing happens, but that's just, that's just a movie that's not for you. Clearly, and that's fine. But I do think it's kind of unwarranted. Like, just because there's not a lot of action happening doesn't mean that there's not other things happening in the movie. There are a lot of great seeds that are planted that come later in the movie. There's a lot of great misdirection in this movie. There isn't a whole lot of character development. I'll get behind that. That is like one of my few criticisms of this movie. We don't really get to know anybody beyond Will and maybe Eden.
Eden, it's all surface
a little
level
bit.
Everyone else.
Yeah, exactly. But that being said, like it's definitely Will's story. He's who we spend the majority of the time with. He's the only character we ever really see by himself, and that's completely fine. I think to call it a criticism is a little bit missing the mark a little bit. Like I can understand if it's something that a viewer doesn't like, but to say it's bad because of this, I don't think that's really fair. I wouldn't recommend it to people that don't like slow burns. That's for sure. Like it is really 90% build up and 10% payoff, and I think that payoff is really great. Especially that last scene makes this one small dinner party movie amongst friends into a much larger field, which is also a really great note to end it on, that this is bigger than we thought.
Agreed. And I also agree with you too about the characters, because like even though they are all the actors are good in their roles, like they fill them well, but like they all are playing types pretty much. Like Kira is the girlfriend, and then you have like just like the gay couple, and then you have Gina, who seems like the free spirit, and then Claire, who seems like she's the and Claire's like the prude, because that's how they describe her. And like everyone feels like a stereotype,
exactly.
Almost. And you don't really get to know them like beyond the two. I mean, I guess you get a little bit of Eden, but you get to know Eden through Will.
Yeah, exactly.
And but everyone else is kind of like just playing. It's all kind of very shallow and superficial. Which I mean, I don't know if it's a detriment to the movie, but it does kind of. I go to your point of like there's not a lot of character development for the supporting characters, and they do take up a lot of screen time for it to not really know much about them. Like they get a considerable amount of time, like doing stuff, but like you don't really learn about them beyond like what the dialogue gives you and like what their personality suggests. That's it.
It would make their fates, I guess, a little bit more impactful if we got to know them a little bit more. But in any case, I don't think it does anything to like discard or discount the horror of the situation and what inevitably happens. Like, I don't think you really need to know much about people to understand that once this situation takes a homicidal turn, like this is a terrifying situation to be in. It doesn't matter if these are friends or strangers, they're being hunted in this house. They have nowhere to go. And that there's 4 people whose goal is to kill you. Like that's terrifying enough. But I could use a little more development. It doesn't like do anything against this movie for me, but
were you expecting it to get that homicidal when you first saw it?
Oh no, I definitely remember being like, oh god, like, well, I had my feelings that thing, especially like knowing about some of the famous like cults and poison drinks and stuff. They kind of expect or wouldn't be shocked if that had happened, but once, and even on this watch, when the character, when it's Miguel doing CPR on Gina, he's shot from behind by David. We don't see him in the frame because Miguel's like taking up the space on the frame, and he gets shot from behind, and then it really becomes like a murder party. That part, even this time around, I was like, oh, I forgot how unhinged this got, and how now this is basically becoming a slasher.
I like that they slow-moed all that. Like the initial like beginning of it, I like that they kind of like, I know it was like probably just like a stylistic choice to do that, but it really did add to like the almost as you're watching it, like they want you to like make sure you take all of this in. This is what is happening now, and like to do it that slow, and then have like was it Paul? I forgot the creepy dude's name. I don't know why I'm blanking on the
Pruitt.
Him. Then to have him slowly take the gun from David, almost like you can see in his face, like he's almost talking to him like, "Oh, it's okay, oh, it's okay." And then to have him just turn the gun on, like, the rest of it was just like, oh, I do remember when I first saw that, because I wasn't expecting, because when I first saw this movie, it was a complete blind watch. Like, I just kind of read what it was about and like, all right, that sounds interesting. I'll watch it. So I didn't know where it was going to go, and so like the last 10-15 minutes of it completely caught me off guard, and I was really kind of like caught like really like by surprise by it. like almost like even when I watched it for this, almost like sitting up in my bed, like whoa, like this shit's getting real, that kind of thing. And it really does a good job of like, that's why I think a slow burn is worth it, because like the payoff here is
exactly
worth it. I mean, and not because it gets violent, but because it's almost the execution of it. You know, if it was just like a senseless like bloodbath, I don't think I would really like it all that much. But like how it's done is pretty much well executed, and like just creating the chaos of it, they did that really well too. Like that one moment where it's Ben who's like the funny, like, oh yeah, I forgot to mention him as a character, you know, the funny like heavyset one.
Pascal guy,
Pascal, when he like I guess full on like jumps out one of the windows, and like you're seeing it from Will and Kira's perspective, and he hits the ground, and then David is just on top of him and just stabs him in the back. And then Pruitt just shoots him in the head. It looks like to see that from their perspective was so good, because like again, it's like you're seeing it from ours, like watching as like an audience member watch it, and like it just everything about it was just so chaotic and just so. And it's interesting that they don't show like a lot. It's not like it's gory or anything, but
no, it really isn't.
But it's just it really is the execution of it that makes it feel more intense than probably it is. And like and Sadie, even with a severe head injury, is still trying to get after him, and like finally she succumbs to her injuries, I guess. And I did like that. At first, I remember when I was watching for this, I was like, kind of thought it should have been Will that took out David, but then I was like, David did kill Miguel, who was like Tommy's dude, so I guess it makes sense that it would be Tommy that did it. But that is a detriment of having those two characters be so side, that I get why it had to be him, because like he killed. He killed his partner.
It's his revenge.
It's his revenge, but like they are so supporting that it's almost like, oh, like it almost like you're it feels like you're building up to like maybe Will be the one to do that to David and not a secondary character. So that was something that kind of like bothered me a little bit.
Good point. Yeah. Any theories as to how Sadie dies? Because we don't really see how she gets. I'm not even really sure the injury she's battling when they're kind of like they finally creep out of that bedroom. And they come across the couch, and Sadie's sort of like on her last legs, like looks like she's bleeding out. I don't know if it's like from the neck, and she's standing there with like a fireplace poker or something. And she's just kind of gasping and wheezing. And I'm like, I don't know if I missed something or if this is supposed to be self-inflicted or what, but I'm not sure if there's any more definitive.
That moment was so like all of her stuff was so chaotic that I couldn't tell if she sustained other injuries other than like the bop to the head that she had when he like threw her aside. Like I thought maybe it was just that, but when she's sitting on the couch, it is like there is blood on her neck, but it could be like she bled from her head down to there, or like
exactly. I'm not really sure what's going on with her.
And there is that part where she's attacking him, and they like shut the door on her, and I was like, did she get hit with the door? Like I didn't like, because she's so like a rabid, violent animal that it's hard to tell like what's happening to her. And
she is very animalistic when she goes off.
In those final moments, but I thought maybe she just kind of like eventually. It's a pretty bad fucking head wound. Like I really felt like I was there at the party when she hit her head. I was like, ooh, like that would be so like it. But then a part of me would have been like, yo, you guys saw her attack me, right? Like she attacked me
that was
like,
completely justified. She brought that on herself.
But like you feel that kind of like uncomfortable, like Phil, like fucking Will, what'd you do? Because you're still in that headspace. So like, but I mean, at that point though, it's like once she starts attacking you, you're like, man, she came up at me like claws ready. So like,
exactly, I didn't know what she's gonna do.
And of course, he didn't like intentionally like throw her into like the table so she would hit her head. Like so. Yeah, there's that. But like, I didn't see anything else where she got hurt, but she was such a rabid dog, though it's hard to tell.
In any case, I was glad to see she was no longer a threat, because she genuinely scared me in this movie. She's the scariest part about this movie. And that look in her eyes when she's going wild and going after Will, I'm like, oh my God, this lady's unhinged.
I did feel bad for Kira, because like she's the only one that's like, I don't even know these people. I only know Will.
She's a champ. Even like that hour of the movie that she's kind of just like with the group without Will by herself, I'm like, she's a champ. And even for agreeing to go there in the first place, knowing that it's Will's ex-husband's house or ex-wife's house.
That is what your significant other would tell you not to do. Please don't leave me alone with these people.
Yes.
Like, I don't really know them. And like, there are stretches of time where she is just like doing a good job of like trying to like fit in and like, get along with everybody. Like, she's likable, but like, yeah, she really low key, even though like even she's not developed that much, but she is kind of like the unsung hero of this, where she's like, I don't know anyone here. Like, I'm just trying to be the supportive girlfriend. And and boy, how she rewarded. I mean, she does survive. There's at least there's that. I'm glad they did like off her, because that would have been like kind of disappointing. But yeah, she really is a trooper for dealing with like even the stuff before things get crazy. Just like just showing up and not making things awkward is like half the battle for
her. One thing that I wanted to get your take on, and it's actually surprisingly something I don't see brought up a lot in reviews or analyses of this movie. I'm sure people have taken a crack at it. I just probably haven't seen it. But the coyote in the beginning of the movie, Will and Kira hit a coyote and he has to dispatch it with a tire iron. And I think I've come to a consensus about how I interpret that scene and if it has any grander meaning. I'm not positive, but I want to know what you think about it, or if it does have a meaning.
Well, it's like I didn't know if at first, but then like when the movie was over, since like I wonder if it's because there's this whole thing about like politeness and all that, like if like the polite right thing to do, since it was like injured but wasn't quite dead yet, was to like put it out of its misery, because like otherwise it would have just sat there and like suffered. I mean, that was the only thing I could think of as to why that was there. But like, I tried to look it up too and couldn't find anything as to why that happened at the beginning. But that was the only thing that came to mind after like the other themes of the movie. That was the one thing that spread to mind. But I don't know if you have a different.
I think I definitely agree with your take on it too. I looked at it, even taking it a step further, I guess, as a kind of like a metaphor for how like the cult members are also leaving behind this world of suffering and like taking themselves out of their own misery in a way.
Yeah.
So I think it's kind of conflicting that we see Will, like I know we see him as a character with a strong character, strong morals. He definitely does what he believes in and he's not afraid to confront people if he thinks something's wrong. But the fact that we see him like mercy kill this animal after he injures it, it kind of to me shows that he should be more understanding of like the position that the cult takes, like that they're taking themselves out and ending their grief by like killing themselves. Like he can see the mercy and not letting anything suffer. And even he has this line when he's out with Kira outside after the big freak out, when Choi gets there, he goes, or no, maybe it's with Claire. I can't remember what character he says it with. He's basically says after it happened, referring to his son's death, he goes, I've just been waiting to die ever since.
Oh, like he told that to Kira.
Is it Kira? He says that to me. He goes,
yeah.
Get like he is also somebody that's suffering, that's waiting to be put out of his misery. So it does to me, it kind of shows almost like a relation between like the cult's ideals and him kind of understanding about putting down people that are suffering, which I think is interesting because obviously he does not agree with, the cult's take on poisoning everybody and the suicide. So I think it's like an interesting, almost like juxtaposition, but I definitely look at it as like a metaphor.
I think it is too. And not saying that he would agree if he had been, aware of what they were doing, but they are kind of like not filling them in on like what the plan is. So it's like, like, they're kind of just springing it on them. Right.
Yes.
That's another interesting thing too, that like, I always wonder what it's like in someone like Kira's position, like to hear someone you like clearly love say something like that, because to not take it personally, because it's like, you've also been in this relationship with me. And to hear you say like, I've basically been waiting to die ever since, this thing happened with my son. Like you have, as a person who is with this person, have to like not take that to heart yourself. And I thought that's a lot about her character too, that she is completely understanding of like his grief and, what he's dealing with, regarding the loss of his son. But like, that would be a hard thing to hear from your significant other. It's like, oh, like, in the back of your head, like, well, fuck me then. But you also have to like be like, like, hey, I'm not going through this. They're going through it. And it's not the same for me.
On the other side of that coin, I think it would take a remarkable amount of ego to suggest that you think that you would be able to pull somebody out of that grief like that. And I think that you are so wonderful that you could.
Yeah.
I get like maybe dumbing it down a little bit. To think that you would be able to help someone through grief is a different story, but I think the character of Kira and how she is portrayed and written like is understanding of that and willing to help and willing to, you know, take a step back if needed. Like she doesn't come across as the type that think like, oh, I can help fix him or anything. But obviously, regardless of your position, yeah, unbelievably difficult to probably have heard that word. And it's a wonderfully delivered by Logan Marshall-Green. That whole that line and the line right after that, he goes like, "I love you, but I don't think you can help me." Like that is like, oh, so poignant. And just so heartbreaking to hear. Like you totally buy it from him.
Yeah. What did you think about the outcome for Eden? I mean, were you like, because there, I mean, like I mentioned earlier, there's the whole like, yeah, of course she knows what she's pulling her friends into as a sort of like kind of like mass like freedom from their turmoil and all that stuff. But she, for what we're interpreting, she doesn't like, she is not down for how sideways it goes.
Yeah.
So like, do you feel sympathy for her?
I do. I don't like, yeah, she was on board and participating in she thought would lead to all of her friends' deaths. But I still feel sympathy. I don't look at her as like an evil character, even though like she participates in something evil. I don't really know why. I guess because her and David too, to an extent, just come across as so believable in like this cause, and that they really think it's going to help save everybody. And I believe that they're doing it from in their twisted mind is a good thing. And so maybe that kind of helps. And in her admission and her dying words that like none of this really worked for her. She still misses her son so much and that she can't take it anymore. And that's why they're doing this. Like, it's like, how can you not sympathize with somebody like that? She just wanted, if you look at it, I think it can be explained or rationalized that these people are suffering and just want to go out with the people that they love around them, which is like, almost sounds nice, but it's also homicidal.
Like, it sounds poetic. Yeah.
Exactly. So, but that doesn't make it right. But again, I don't think that she has like an evil nature to her at all. And I think like, I'm kind of almost like glad that she gets the ending she gets, where she does like kind of like get to die out in the stars, like outside and looking at the stars. It's kind of peaceful end. But the decision to shoot herself in the stomach, I was like, oh my God, girl. That's like the worst place.
Also, I thought it was crazy that she shot at him. I mean, I guess it was a shoulder shot. I was like,
it seemed kind of like instinctual. Oh my God, I didn't really mean that. I just like I thought that's what I was supposed to do. Yeah, you can tell she panicked.
Yeah, and then she does shoot herself in the stomach, which it's something like, because you don't really hear about like people doing that way. So to actually watch her do that way, it was like really like, oh, like, for some reason, like visually, that was more surprising to me than like if they would have shown her like shooting herself in the head.
I agree. It's such an unnatural like thing to do. Like even to point at yourself, it seems unnatural.
Yeah.
I agree. And I think just a headshot would have kind of taken a lot of the I don't know, like
because we still needed her like kind of alive, right? So where they take her out to like
there's still some unresolved bits with her that I'm glad kind of get hung out to dry before she goes. So although it would have been a shocking moment for her just to shoot herself in the head.
Shoot herself in the head. Yeah.
Would have been underwhelming, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. And you mentioned the stuff with the ending. There's this whole stuff where you see David like lighting this lantern and you don't really know what it's for, really.
Right.
And I was kind of like, I got goosebumps when I watched, because I kind of forgot about the ending from the first time I watched it. But it like you said, it shows that like larger implications that this went beyond this house, because one of the like final shots of the movie is like you see that all these other like lanterns are lit at various locations in the surrounding area of the Hollywood Hills, and I love how you gradually get it, because you're hearing people kind of scream in the background, like hearing the kind of chaos that was going on in their house like beginning to happen in like all these other houses, and then like the shot of like all these lanterns being that were lit at all these other places that shows that so many other people were a part of this and doing this was such a chilling note to end it on. Not as like surprising as like the ending of The Vanishing, but like in the same way it was like, oh, that's why this is scary, that like this is like much bigger than like
it's not an isolated event. Exactly.
I thought that was really like cool note to end that on. to kind of like
I agree.
nice little final shocking moment, I guess.
Definitely. And it's not this drastic, bombastic sort of like realization. It's so subtle. It's just you just look out into the hills and just to see a few more. It's like, oh wow, it adds a lot by doing little, which is impressive.
Yeah, I agree with that too. Like I was like, oh shit, like, and there's such a subtle, nice little visual thing to show that.
Yeah,
like just to have those like kind of lights light up. And I'm glad you brought up coherence too. That was like one of the things I thought about too when I was watching it. I was like, this reminds me of like another movie now, and it was that. And it was the same, almost the same vibe amongst the friends. Like I don't know how you kind of like people write those kind of characters. Like they were very similar, and how they like the way they approach their friendships and the relationships in the movies were very similar. Also, one location too is like
that's right.
Another. I mean, the movie only had like $1 million budget, so like,
wow,
this is all done on the cheap, pretty much. I guess it's kind of like disappointing that despite the good reviews and stuff, like a lot of people don't really know about it. Like it kind of, I mentioned it to a few people, and they were like, I had one friend that watched it and was like, "Oh, that's seen it." Everyone else was like, they kind of confused my friends with that vampire movie that came out a couple
Which
of
I
years
didn't
ago.
know about that one until searching this one up, and that one came up. Like I know it's not that one.
You're like, curious, I wonder if that would have been great if you were just confused. Like, KSP better. I hope you didn't pick this.
No, actually, it didn't even cross my mind when you pitched this movie as one of your picks. Like, I didn't even know about that vampire one, so I could have shown up to the table having watched the wrong one. That didn't happen. But no, I don't know anything about the 2022 one.
Yeah, they were like, I was like, no, not that one. And I would have been like comedy of errors if you really thought that and you watched that instead. I was like, oh no, not that. We're at record later. That would have been really awkward and embarrassing.
That would have been been a funny story.
Do you have any final thoughts? Anything you want to bring up or before we score it?
Maybe the only thing that I didn't really get to throw into the conversation is that the actor that plays David, Michiel Huisman,
oh yeah,
Game of Thrones alumni. He's great.
Yeah. I heard he replaced someone on Game of Thrones, I guess.
He did, yes. Yeah. His character, I think the first actor gets like a season. I can't remember who you'd recognize him from something else too, but I can't think of his name.
So here's the deal. The guy who played David, the actor you mentioned, I recognize his face, but I was going through his stuff and I had never, I don't think, watched anything else he had been in. So I'm guessing I might have just seen him in previews or like when my friends were watching Game of Thrones or something, because like maybe I recognize his face.
He's not a huge character in Game of Thrones. He's in a few seasons, but like minor. Oh, he's in the Haunting of Hill House.
Oh, there you go. All right,
there you go.
All right. I was like, why did I recognize this guy's face? Also very good and very committed.
Yes, I really want to rewatch it, but right now we're watching another Mike Flanagan series. What the heck are we watching? Midnight Mass. So that's been a lot of fun. He's not in that I know of, but I know Mike Flanagan works a lot with the same actors. But any case, besides the point, I had to throw that in there. And he's great. And even a character that although he does horrific things and is murderous, I don't feel like he's evil. I don't really feel like any of them other than Sadie are like evil, fucked up.
Yeah, I don't think they're like, when you get to the brass tacks of it, I guess none of them really are. They think they're offering some kind of salvation from like someone's pain, to kind of escape from this kind of like, because a lot of people will you'll find that a lot of people that are in cults or involved with them or lead them do offer this sort of like kind of like escape from like the pain that kind of like being on this earth has caused them, basically,
right?
And giving them the opportunity to transcend to something that's peaceful and free of like turmoil and all that stuff. So I don't agree with it, but I don't. But like in this movie, I was just like, I don't really think there are really any real villains. Maybe Pruitt and Sadie. Maybe the two people that weren't supposed to be there. That were David's friends. They'd be
the easiest to point fingers at as like the movie's villains.
Because they had no problem, like, yo, we could skip the Kool-Aid and just like shoot them. They were cool with that. I mean, I actually didn't understand if there was supposed to be a rhyme or reason to that. Like, okay, the Kool-Aid didn't work. So why was David so easy? He shot Miguel, and then Pruitt takes the gun and like begins shooting everyone else. Like, did it matter how they died? are like I like for it
I
to
think it
turn
was
into like
more
that level
of
of
a
violence.
convenience thing. That's kind of how I like everyone in one go. If it had went off perfectly, it would have been everyone would have been out in one go.
Yeah.
No chance of surviving. But yeah, ultimately because of like what happens after, as soon as the plan goes sideways, David whips out the gun, and I'm like, okay. To me, that says it doesn't really matter how they go. It's just that they all need to go.
They all need to die.
Way. Yeah.
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 No, that was all I wanted. The only cherry I wanted to add on top. But how about you? I'll let you decide who, like, you can pitch who rates first. If you have any other final thoughts, your pick and all.
I'll let you rate first. You let me rate The Vanishing first last time. So
right, all right. All in all, before I give my rating, like I think this is a really great thriller. I mean, yeah, I would pitch it to anybody that likes like slow burn, methodical, psychological thrillers. The misdirection's fantastic. Is it perfect? No. Like, does it have? I could use a little bit more character development here or there for sure. But ultimately, I didn't really have anything bad to say about it. I thought it was like really strongly acted in those scenes that we do get. Yeah. Logan Marshall-Green, great performance out of him. It's disturbing and like it's all worth it for the final 15 minutes, if you ask me. So I think I'd give it like a healthy 3.5 stars. Like I will return to it. I think it was best enjoyed after like a long time apart because it kind of like felt like I was watching it for the first time again, like having forgotten how some things play out and how weird and uncomfortable it is. And the fact that it even evoked any sort of like discomfort, I'd say the movie did its job for me. So I was quite happy to rewatch it.
Yeah. I would give it 4. But like it's like on the nose for like I mean and like in any detriment I think it's like you said some of the supporting characters which eat up screen time, like you don't really get to know them and like they are kind of just playing like stereotypes at a certain point. I mean I guess that maybe the point of like supporting characters sometimes that they don't really need to be fleshed out as much as the leads, but like I would have liked to have known like a little bit more about the history rather than like it just being like delivered through like a line of dialogue to kind of let you know like, oh, this is why this person's close with this person and all that. But like that's just like a small thing I guess to hold against it. But I do think I love that it's a slow burn. It's actually shot really well. It looks great for a movie that's not cheap. Like for $1 million, it looks really good. I just kind of wish more people knew about it. And I kind of thought the people that did know about it, like may have liked it more. But like I said, when I looked it up on IMDb, this like, I think it was last night or this morning, I was expecting like at least like a 7.0, like on the dot for like the user rating. And then when I saw 6.6, I was like, oh. And then when I read the user comments, the big complaints were like that it was slow.
Yeah. Which,
and like,
whatever.
Yeah.
The people that like it really do seem to like it though. So
yeah. And I know like when we were talking about this, probably thought we were talking about like a hard hitting drama about grief and loss and all that, but it is a pretty good psychological thriller. And for those looking for more of the horror part of it, the last 10 minutes or so does deliver on that and thrill.
Then some. So makes up for lost time, that's for sure.
Again, not all horror movies need to be, traditional in that sense. So I did not realize that when I picked this, I would be kind of piggybacking off you picking a psychological thriller that wasn't really a horror film, but like I don't know. I think they both work in the same way that
exactly.
It just kind of like taps into a different level of horror.
Exactly.
It doesn't have to be like what we traditionally expect.
Exactly.
So both of those choices, I'm glad we picked.
Yeah, it was a great pick. It was great to rewatch because I don't know when I would have got around to this if not for this watch. So I'm glad because it's definitely a solid entry, and I'm sure I'll revisit it again because it's super strong. I have a buddy Chris that really likes this movie too, so I'll definitely mention that I saw this again, and maybe he'll rewatch it. He's a big Logan Marshall-Green fan as well. But yeah, great pick, dude.
Thank you, man.
Yeah, we're well into spooky season now and Tales of Horror. I think we've crossed off. Would this have been the 4th? Are we halfway done?
I believe so. So yeah, Hills Have Eyes, The Vanishing. We did yours first, right? Am I blanking on the first one that you did?
I'm blanking on the first one.
Oh my god.
I have them already. Oh, American Werewolf in London.
No, there we go. Yeah.
So that would make this 4. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we are halfway down. Yes.
Yeah. All right.
So yours will be next.
Yes.
You keep that to yourself if you want.
I haven't decided yet, but I'll message you and we'll have that next one here lined up. But if that's it, that has been episode 258, halfway through Tales of Horror, which has been fantastic. Another 4 great. Just to recap, I guess, the next 4 movies we've got lined up are Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Dream Warriors. We've got Audition. We've got Wreck, and we've got Possession. So still some good flicks left up. Definitely some more conventional horror movies in there. And then there's 2 in there that I have no idea what to expect. 1 pick of mine and 1 pick of yours, or 2 that I haven't seen. So I'm really excited for Audition and Possession.
That's right.
I'm interested for those conversations. Audition in particular, I've been waiting to see that for a long time. So very excited for that. But anyway, back on track, episode 258, guys. Thank you for tuning in and for being with us on our Tales of Horror throughout September and October. We've got lots more stuff coming at you guys. Check us out anywhere you guys get your podcasts. And of course, head on over to our new website, backtotheblockbusterpodcast.com. Some good insights on there. It looks fantastic. We've got our newsletter is that up and running? Is that featured?
It'll be all up and running at the end of this week. So
end of this week.
We have a bunch of newsletters. Like, you're gonna get a few of these, like, kind of rapid that we're sending out. Because one, we need to practice writing them, but we also just we had to practice writing them because we need to get the flow of everything down. But that'll all be up soon. And the first few, you're gonna get a few almost kind of like stockpiled a little bit, but then after that it'll be a weekly newsletter.
Yeah, exactly. So check it out, guys. If you haven't been over to the website, have a look. It's fantastic. And of course, wherever you guys get your podcasts, check us out at Back to the Blockbuster there. Of course, check us out, Playlist Studio app you can get on whatever device you guys have, and give some love to Playlist. They are a huge support of us and we love them. They do so much work for us, and we wouldn't be the show we are without them. And of course, Gaius, always a pleasure recording with you, man. Stay tuned for what we're going to do next. I will let you know soon. And I'm looking forward to hammering out the last 4 entries of Tales of Horror as always, my friend.
Yeah, and also everyone listening, be wary when your exes invite you to dinner parties, especially when you haven't talked to them in like a couple years. Like even without the trauma of losing a child or anything like that, be very skeptical if there's been a gap and they're like, "Hey, come to this thing."
Yes,
probably don't go.
and know what you're drinking from. Know what's in your wine glass.
Exactly. Words to live by.
Well, on that note, cheers, everybody.
Peace out, guys. Wrong button. There we go. That was fun. Now I gotta go